Welcome to the Tom River Show. Pat O Melia here, and my goal is to entertain, educate, and inform you. And I do the show because I know you're there. All right, don't forget everything you see on the bottom of the screen. Like us on Facebook, subscribe to us on YouTube. Don't forget our live stream. That's where we archive, live stream / Vimeo, is where we archive all our shows. For that matter, my contract's up in July, so I'll be renewing that. Hopefully, we had some drama last time, but hopefully we avoid that this time. Don't forget, follow us on Twitter and Instagram and all them things you see on the bottom of the screen. Tom's River Show. Now, I've been negotiating. I must be a terrible negotiator, because when I get into negotiation, things go to sideways or hell in a handbasket quick. Comcast is looked to jack up their rates, and they lost so many subscribers that they shouldn't be jacking up any rates. And they were jacking up rates where they lost 25% of subscribers, and they're trying to double the price of equipment that is utilized for broadcasting live on Comcast. So I refused their increases, and I took all shows off the air with the exception of the City Show that airs on Comcast in Jersey City and Optimum all through Hudson County. I may bring back the Tom's River Show, probably not twice a day. We'll probably bring it back either the 10 or the 2 o'clock slot, something like that. I'd rather not give Comcast any kind of money, but the show is what's important, so I'll work something out with Comcast and myself. Talking about cable company, I'm paying my broadband bill in the Seaside studio. I'm paying like $152 a month for horrible broadband. And this is Optimum. This isn't Comcast. And the 5G service is coming from Verizon. I'm paying more in Seaside Heights just for crappy broadband than I am in North Bergen with Verizon, where I have super broadband, like 500 millibytes per second upload, 3 landlines, and I'm paying $20 less a month than I am just for broadband in Seaside, and horrible broadband at that. So there is better technology out there. The problem is the Seaside studio is on the Barrier Islands, and there it's really only a 4 or 5 month a year community. So Verizon's in no hurry to turn on those 5G modulars they have on the top of the poles. For that matter, just talking to the mayor of Seaside Heights today saying, when is this going to happen? I'm getting crushed here, price-wise, with Optimum. All right, we're going to break for commercial and talk about some primary results. You're watching the Tom's River Show. I'll be right back.
Ferns Brothers Memorials, Monuments, and Markers, 787 Tunley Avenue, Jersey City. Hudson County's only monument maker, serving all faiths and cemeteries. Design, studio, and large inventory on site. Cemetery inscriptions and custom orders welcome. Ferns Brothers Memorials, Monuments, and Markers, 787 Tunley Avenue, just south of Secaucus Road. Craftsmanship that will last for all eternity. Ferns Brothers, Jersey City, Albert H. Hopper, North Arlington. Visit us on the net.
We're back, Tom's River Show. Pat O Melia here. Don't forget everything you see on the bottom of the screen. I don't have my faithful coffee with me today. I got Gatorade Zero, which has been downsized, by the way. If I'm getting the old ones where it was like 32 ounces. Now, if you go into ShopRite, they're 4 for $5. You got to hunt for the 32-ounce Gatorade, but they're trying to sell you the 28-ounce for the same price. Things that annoy me. Downsize. I'm paying more and they're downsizing me. Last night, this week, Tuesday, we had the primary results, and the results are in. Mike Mastronati ran unopposed. Did pretty damn good for a guy running unopposed, by the way. 37,642 votes as of this taping. That's pretty good when there was no reason to vote for the guy. All Mike had to do was vote for himself. He is going to face off in the general election against Eugene Davis, also law enforcement, and he's also a personal friend of Mike Mastronati. So it'll probably won't be one of the dirtier campaigns, but Mike, he's not going to cruise. He's going to have to work to get elected. Also, Mike is going to have to work to get elected to be the Ocean County GOP chair. There's still some committee seats. The votes are still close to call at this time. And I think it's next week, is it? when all the committee people get together and they're going to vote for a new leader, it's Mike Mastronardi, Sheriff Mastronardi versus George Gilmore. I like both these guys. I know Mike Mastronardi better than I know George Gilmore. The only thing I question is, does Mike Mastronardi really want to do this? Really? You want, at this stage of his career, a cop, respected all through the state, do you want to get involved in the dirty daily dealings of politics? George Gilmore is a political animal. He lives it. I don't know if Mike really lives it, or does he want to live that? It'll be interesting to see. Yeah, I don't see, if Mike wins, I don't see him staying there long. And really, 50% of the time, the head of these organizations, whether it's the GOP or the Democrat side, they usually get jammed up. Either they did it or the subordinates did something wrong, and you're the leader, so you're where the buck stops, you know? Election-wise, it was fairly close this time, even though it was pretty much 2-1. Normally, when the Ocean County Commission is run, it's basically a landslide. Not a question, you know, who's going to win, even if there is opposition. But this time, the team of Lamb and Fossa, Ashley Lamb and Sergio Fossa, they got about 19% of the vote, which is pretty damn good historically here in Ocean County, going against the organization, and the organization candidates were Jenny Haynes and Jack Kelly. They took 31% of the vote. This was pretty good. Yeah, it's showing cracks in the organization. The Ocean County GOP is getting to the point that maybe they are dysfunctional as it is right now, especially in the county seat in Toms River. There is certainly dysfunction here. Somebody has got to straighten this out. You know, you got the Ocean Gate mayor, you got FBI investigations going into the Ocean County government. The Ocean Gate mayor has county employees working on his house on your tax dime. You know, you just had a situation where, you know, county employees removing ballot campaign signs from the opposition. Yeah, it looks bad. It's bad optics. There is a lot of bad going on in Ocean County county government right now that needs to be cleaned up. I don't think the voting public made the right choice in an effort to clean up Ocean County government, because going with Jenny Haynes and Jack Kelly weren't the right decisions. Yeah, you know, Jack, he's been there forever. Yeah, it really was time for him to move on and get some, like I said before, get some new vision in there, get some younger blood in there, and try to get some real direction, some uncorrupt direction. You know, there's a reason there's an investigation going on by the FBI into Ocean County government. Yeah, and they're going to find something. Believe me, they're not going to come out and say, well, you know, we didn't find anything. That's not going to happen. They're going to find lots of things. I'm sure of that. And we'll see if it comes out before the general election or not. Democrat commissioner candidates, they didn't do too bad in Ocean County, where each one received somewhere around, as of this taping, around 15,000 votes. If they can swing some of those Lamb Fossa votes, that could become an interesting election in November. And again, it behooves the residents of Ocean County to try to get whatever way you can get diversification on that commissioner board. It's best for the county. Whether it's, you know, the younger Ashley Lamb, unfortunately it didn't work, or Sergio Fossa. Even if you have to go and get some Democrats on that board, it'll only benefit the county of Ocean and its residents to have some diversity, have some different views. And maybe, just maybe, the commissioners decide, you know, instead of every year it's another, who's the director of the commissioners, I'm the boss this year, you're the boss next year, I'm the boss this year. Have one vision, like you have in Hudson County with County Exec Tom DeGeese, somebody who's going to, for the long haul. He's going to see these projects through and these visions through. That doesn't happen when you have different leadership every year. I'm the director of the commissioners, and you're the director next year, and I'll be. Let's get somebody real there. Another thing with the election primary in general, if it happened, if you're running unopposed, do we really need that person on the ballot? All they have to do is vote for themselves, and boom, they win. Why go through all the effort of putting them on the ballot, printing the ballot, then going into the booth? There's a lot of labor involved in all this. Printing costs, there's labor costs, and the people, and it could trigger an election. Saying, well, I like, in case Mike Mashinalli. Mike Mashinalli's at the top of the ticket. I'm going to go with column A, column B, or whatever, whoever that is at the top. If you're running unopposed, why are you on the ballot? Because we know you're going to vote for yourself. Yeah, maybe, I guess they consider write-ins. Maybe there's got to be a way we can make elections more efficient, and you pay for them, by the way. There's the tax dollars attached to that. Make it more efficient and more cost-effective than we do now. You know, when you go to the county clerk's website in Ocean County and look at some of the towns and boroughs that had elections where, you know, there were 28 votes cast, you know how much that election probably cost just to have 28 votes cast? That's where we need consolidation also. You can use a lot of consolidation in the state of New Jersey, but when you start looking at, you know, an election was won by 78 votes total, come on. There's a cost associated with that. All right, we're going to break for commercial, and we're coming back. We're going to talk about guns, legal gun ownership, and all the maneuvers trying to change that. You're watching the Tom River Show. I'll be right back.
Consumer Carpets, 3408 Kennedy Boulevard in the Jersey City Heights, your one-stop store for residential and commercial floor treatments, carpeting, linoleum, tiles, laminates, hardwood floors, area rugs, remnants, all major brands, all in stock. Free estimates, same-day installation. Consumer Carpets, it's savings, selection, installation. Credit cards and debit cards accepted. Financing available. Consumer Carpets, price to fit your budget, installation to fit your schedule. On the net at consumercarpets.com. Consumer Carpets, Jersey City, 201-792-2712.
I'm back. Pat O'Melia here, Tom's River Show. Like I said, I'm going to probably bring the Tom's River Show back on Comcast, either 10 o'clock or 2 o'clock, something like that. But we're not going to air it twice a day. I want to give Comcast the least amount of money as possible. And for the people who didn't realize it, yes, I buy that airtime. It's not pub access or anything like that. There is all sorts of movement afoot to change gun laws, who can have a gun, how do you go about buying a gun, how old you need to buy a gun. This is going on as we speak. It's going on pretty much in every state, every city. You know, New York City's talking about it. Jersey City with Mayor Fulop has been talking about it for years. And there's a bunch of ideas being bandied about now. I want to take the rest of the show and talk about some of these ideas. My problem with every time, I'm not a gun owner, I'm not a gun guy, but you should have the right to protect your home and your property and your family. I don't have any issue with you being allowed to have a gun. Every time they pass these gun laws, it's focused on the honest, law-abiding gun owner. Criminal. Now, what happened in Texas and in Buffalo is heinous, and especially in Texas is super heinous, tragic that children were shot. You know, I was just at church in Seaside Heights Saturday, and there was a little girl there, like 7, 8 years old, and she's coming out of the pew to go receive, and I'm looking at her and I'm saying, what kind of evil is in someone's heart to shoot a little girl like that? Now, I can't comprehend that. I don't understand what it is. And there's also, Congress is holding some meetings as we speak, and they were talking about violent video games. You know, I came up when I was a kid during the video game revolution, when it started with Pong and went to Atari and Intellivision and Odyssey and ColecoVision, Vectrex, and of course Sega came out. And it went on from NES with Nintendo NES to Super NES to Nintendo 64 Cube, all of it. And people keep talking to the violence on video games or the movies. I'm more inclined, especially when it comes to these mass shootings, of social media. I think that's playing a big role. But before I just keep rambling on here, I did write stuff here. One of the first questions, and we'll discuss it here in these notes, is what is an adult now? Because we keep talking about, well, change the age to 21. That's one of the big ones that are being bandied around, but we'll get to that. Most of the new round of gun laws, again, is targeting the 140 million law-abiding gun owners. And what they're focusing on is assault weapons, your AK-47, AK-15. Again, I just know of those guns. I don't know anything about them. Now they're talking 9 millimeters. President Biden actually brought up 9 millimeters himself. The size of magazines, how you store your ammo at home, the age of gun ownership, and red flag laws. Now, some of these are going to get through there, and some of them should. The thing is, what is? And like I said, during the course of the show, we're going to get to the age thing. But changing the age, that becomes something debatable. What we need to do, and we're going to get into this, it's hard not to get into right off the bat. We need to codify what is an adult. Are you an adult at 18 or you're an adult at 21? That has to be determined. Bunching a 9 millimeter in with assault weapons is BS. 9 millimeters is nowhere near an AK-15 or an AK-47. 9 millimeters is probably one of the best guns that was ever created, whether it's the Glock or the Browning 9 millimeter. They're excellent for home protection. They're very accurate. These guns don't jam. It's not like the old days. 9 millimeter gun is perfect for home protection, and you should be allowed to protect your home and your family without exception. You should. I really don't have a problem with carrying permits, but I certainly believe you should be allowed to have a 9 millimeter at home. Magazine size, 9 millimeter, I believe it's a 15-round clip. I think your AK-15s, AR-15s are also a 15-round clip. There's talk about reducing that clip from 15 to 10 in Washington. Okay, it's real easy to change out those clips. It's super easy, barely an inconvenience, like the guy on YouTube said. Changing the clip size isn't going to change anything, because you can have a lot of clips on you and just click, boom, that clips out, put another one in. That's one of those feel-good laws that they're talking about passing. It's not going to make any difference. Ammo storage. Jersey is probably the worst state when it comes to gun ownership. There's talk of ammo where you have to have your gun locked away and your ammo like in the next room somewhere. It all sounds good until real world sets in. When the bad guy is breaking in your house, he, by the way, has his gun locked and loaded. Ammo is in there. He's not like, I got my gun with me and my ammo's in the car outside. He has it with him. Now you, the honest person, law-abiding gun owner who's at home, in bed, your wife and your 2 kids are on the floor, on the same floor somewhere in their bedrooms, somebody's in your house, you now have to go to your little safe with a key, or you got to turn the combination, get your gun, then I got to run the other side of the room or across the hall and get my ammo and put it in there. That doesn't make any sense. Be a good gun, and there's 140 million legal gun owners, and I'm sure 99.9% know exactly how to handle that weapon. They keep it stored safely, but I guarantee it's stored safely somewhere by their bed. The next thing when we come back, we got to talk about the red flag laws. That I'm probably really interested in. There's something that can be done there, but we've got to determine what is a red flag. And right now, we're looking at 18-year-olds and kids, and there's no age limit on a red flag. What is a red flag? A 17, 16-year-old kid is doing something goofy. The teacher or the guidance counselor or somebody at school is going to say, that's a red flag. We should bring in a psychiatrist. We should bring their parents in. We're going to have to figure out how to determine what's a red flag and what is just a goofy kid, because kids go through a lot of phases, a lot of fads, and you would hate to hurt some kid's future because Again, these are teachers, they're not psychiatrists, saying there's a red flag issue here. All right, let's break for commercial. You're watching the Tom Griffith Show. I'll be right back.
Jersey City Ford, certified parts and service located at Route 440 and Communipaw Ave, is your #1 source for Ford and Lincoln automotive needs. We use certified Ford Motorcraft products to keep your Ford running in top shape. Motorcraft parts are backed with the Ford warranty, which includes a 2-year unlimited mileage guarantee. Our team will have the right Motorcraft part to ensure the best performance from your Ford or Lincoln. You can order in person at the parts counter or online. Let us help keep your Ford or Lincoln in the best shape at Stevens Jersey City Ford.
We're back. Tom Griffith Show. Pat O Melia here. We're talking about gun ownership, changes to gun ownership that is being bandied about. Something will happen. What's the degree of it? We'll have to see, because New York's doing something, Jersey's doing something. Jersey's always doing something. All the states are talking about doing something. And on the federal level, Congress and D.C. are talking about doing something. As I said before the commercial, red flags. What is red flaggable? That's got to be determined. Bad grades? You know, a kid was a good student last year, now he's a bad student. Well, what happened here? I don't know. Something happened at home? That's possible. Good student one year, bad the next. Maybe there's a home situation. When I was young, my parents were gone when I was 8 years old. And I know I was a good student at one time. But there were a lot of changes in my life at a very young age. You know, went from foster homes to Catholic charities and all these things. Yeah, home life can be a problem. Is that a red flag? I know you're going to have to get smarter people than me to decide if grades from one year to another is bad. Somebody's an introvert. He doesn't seem to be as outgoing as the other children. He doesn't get involved in other things the other children do. That a red flag? I don't know. Class clown? They should always be red flags. I know a lot of class clowns. I was one of them. They're usually not the best student in the class, but they're most fun. Is that? I don't know. I hope not. How a kid dresses. Now, the kid in Buffalo, you know, he went to school like 3 weeks straight in a hazmat suit. That's probably a red flag. But the thing is, you know, kids, again, they go through a lot of changes, a lot of fads, a lot of phases. And wardrobe is one of them. Parents are unattended. Lack of parents is what happened with me. Parental guidance. Well, that could be a red flag. It could be a problem. And usually you find out with these kids that, yeah, there were some bad family backgrounds. But, you know, there's a lot of people who have bad family backgrounds. They didn't go out and kill 19 people. What is a red flag? Kid with mental issues. You know, kids' personalities change quite a bit, especially as they go through these phases and through the teenage years. You know, you and your kids were buddy, and all of a sudden your kids are, you know, they don't want to be around by dad. Dad's not cool. That goes and comes and goes and changes as they get older. Kid has mental. Do we weed out the kids with mental issues from the classroom? There was a time in public schools, if there were kids with mental issues, they were in the basement. If there were bad students, you know, they were in Prevo. I remember in grammar school, I was a big kid, so I was a kid who used to run around with the messages for the teachers, and my classes would play gym against the Prevo classes. Some of those kids in Prevo were like 36 years old. You know, they were pretty big kids. But that's how you weeded out the problems in the class. Was it the best way? No, but you separated the problem from the classrooms. Acts of violence, that's a red flag. If a kid is acting out violently, red flag. If a kid gets locked up committing a crime, that's a red flag. I doubt if we report that to the schools, that a kid was locked up committing some sort of a crime. If a 15, 16-year-old kid, 17-year-old kid, he's locked up at 2 a.m., committing some sort of a crime, robbing a car, you know, B&E, mugging, shooting, that's a red flag. School should be made aware of that. And I know you're innocent until proven guilty, but that kid's in the class. Those three things, acts of violence, committing crimes off school hours, underage, committing crimes, 15, 16 years old, not only that kid should be in trouble, the parents should be in trouble too. If that kid's gangbanging around at 2 o'clock in the morning, the parents are contributing to the delinquency of a minor, their welfare of a minor. And you never see that. You never see the parents dragged in parents should be dragged in when the kid's busted at 2 o'clock in the morning committing a crime. Kids go through a lot of phases. And getting back to the thing with 18, what is an adult? Is an adult 18 now? I don't think it is. 18, it looks like you're not going to be able to buy a gun. Maybe that's the right thing. You can't buy cigarettes now in Jersey at 18. You can't buy booze at 18. You can't get a CDL license at 18. They're working on that. They're changing some of that with the CDL license. But 18, you can't get any of that. Now, you're not going to be able to buy guns either. You could be drafted at 18. And there was, I think it was last week, guy is Jerry Nadler, New York senator. And they were again discussing gun violence on this committee. And Jerry Nadler mentioned that an 18-year-old's brain isn't fully formed yet. And that doesn't happen until a person is 24, 25, 26 years old, forget what age, but it was somewhere in the mid-20s Jerry Nadler was talking about. And another senator said, well, why don't we just agree that 18 is not an adult and you can't be drafted at 18? And Nadler's like, wait a minute, they can be trained and the military can put them on a straight and narrow. The question here is, what is an adult? If you're 18, you can be tried as an adult. But as we keep looking at the age, 18 is an adult. You're not an adult if you want a gun. You're not an adult if you want cigarettes. You're not an adult if you want to buy a six-pack of beer. You're not an adult if you want to get a CDL license. Well, let's figure out what is an adult. I don't have a problem with gun ownership being at 21 years of age. I think everybody should be allowed to own a gun. Maybe you wait until they're 21 years of age. But every time there's one, and again, these mass murders, and that's exactly what they were, mass murders, serial shootings here, whatever you want to call it, they're heinous. But in New York City, Chicago, kids are getting killed every night. You just had a week or so ago, 11-year-old kid was shot by a 15-year-old kid on a scooter. There are issues here that we have to understand why these children have such hate in their heart. Why is an 18-year-old getting guns and just shooting up a school? That's the question. Why is an 18-year-old driving 300 miles to Buffalo, New York to shoot up a supermarket? What kind of hate is in an 18-year-old kid's mind? And an 18-year-old kid, this shouldn't be even what they're considering. So yeah, I look at them as kids. Maybe that's how we should look at 18-year-olds and not try to pigeonhole them into an adulthood here. We need to figure out why. How these kids get this kind of hatred in their heart. How these kids get into a life of growing. When you got a 15-year-old, 16-year-old kid getting busted at 2 o'clock in the morning, that kid's his future's probably shot to hell at that point. We shouldn't be losing generations of kids. We have to figure out what happened here. My only conclusion as to why we have these mass shootings, I see with the rise of the internet. When I was a younger person, when there was a mass shooting at work, it was usually the post office, and we used to call it going postal. That was the only mass shootings we ever had. Now it's almost rather common. And I see the rise in these mass shootings from children. I correlate it to the social media, where they find sympathetic ear in social media for whatever their problems were. And these problems, they create these demons in their head, and then they go out and execute little kids. All right, we're at a show. You be good and you be safe. There's a lot of questions to answer, and hopefully the smarter people than me can get those answers. I'll talk to you next week. Good night.